churchgoers are in Dallas for the Southern Baptist Convention's annual meeting. Representatives from Baptist churches across the country are there, except from one church in Georgia. Raleigh White Baptist Church in Albany has been expelled over racism allegations. The 80-plus member congregation has been accused of discriminating against a black congregation that shares the same building. And that's not the only problem the Southern Baptist Convention will face today. On a day that's supposed to be a celebration of the country's largest Protestant denomination, it's the Me Too movement that will be taking center stage at their annual meeting this week. That's because over the past few months, the church's reputation has been plagued with allegations of sexual misconduct. First, there was the Memphis pastor who was placed on leave after he confessed to having a sexual encounter with a teenager. Then there was the head of the convention's executive committee who resigned after a, quote, morally inappropriate relationship. And then there was Paige Patterson, a well-known Southern Baptist preacher who was accused of making inappropriate comments about a teenage girl's body and mishandling 2 alleged rape cases. With me now is Mary DeMuse. She's a Southern Baptist and an advocate for survivors of sexual abuse. She's in Dallas today, where she will be protesting outside of the meeting. Welcome, Mary.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. I know you love your church, yet you plan, along with other women, to protest today. This must be a painful day for you.
It is, because we just long to see women's voices heard around the nation and the world, and just to be validated and heard and seen. So yes, it's hard, but it's also really positive, and we're really excited to just have the opportunity to share our hearts.
You wrote a moving op-ed. You say your angst is not directed at your husband or your religion, but the structures built within your denomination. What do you mean by that?
Well, actually what we're doing today, we prefer not to call it a protest, but a rally. And what we would really like to see is a sexual abusers database within the Southern Baptist Convention, so that people can't move from church to church with that allegation. As well, we would like to see pastors and leaders and ministry leaders of all over the world trained to be able to help victims when they come to them with allegations of abuse. And lastly, we are just longing to see women's voices heard within the Southern Baptist Convention.
When you talk about misconduct within the church, how pervasive is it, and what kinds of misconduct are you talking about?
I'm talking mostly about how we are responded to when we report abuse, and we've been seeing that throughout the newsreel lately in the past couple months. Personally, my own experience with church has been positive. I was a sexual abuse victim at the age of 5, wasn't going to church at the time, but later when I disclosed that abuse to people who prayed, that was actually something really positive. So it's been very grievous for me to see that folks aren't being treated well, they're not being heard, they're not, sometimes are being discouraged from reporting their abuse to the authorities, which is important. And so, yeah, so part of that is just, I've actually had a positive experience, but I would sure love to see that all churches are safe places for victims of abuse.
So why do you think that the male members of your congregation are doing this?
You know, I think a lot of it is that second element that we've been looking for is training. I think a lot of people just aren't trained to know what is the appropriate, empathetic, and empowering response when someone comes to you and says, I've been in a domestic abuse situation, or I've been raped, or there's been someone in the congregation who has harmed me. A lot of times the church has been more interested in protecting their reputation than they are about doing the right thing, which is to provide resources for victims, to listen to victims, to love victims, to encourage them to report if that's something that they want to do. And so I believe that a lot of it may just be a lack of training. I know my husband went to seminary and he didn't have any training about this particular issue. All the training has come from all my research and everything that I've been doing with sexual abuse victims over the years.
So do you think things will change because, you know, we live in the era of Me Too?
Absolutely, and that has been really heartening to me. One of the things that I share with survivors is that an untold story never heals, and so this whole Me Too and Church Too movement has been exploding and giving victims this opportunity to finally say, I own my story. This is what happened to me, and there's something really powerful that happens about that. And I think there's a kind of a holy momentum of people beginning to share their stories, and I can't help but think it is going to have a positive impact on all denominations in the United States.
Well, we'll follow the convention to see what happens. Mary Demuth, thank you so much for being with me. The summit in North Korea with President Trump and Kim Jong-un was